When you play chords, or if you're writing songs, then you reduce the harmony to chord symbols, like D minor 7 to B flat 7 to C major 7. But the great thing about jazz harmony is that you can make a lot of choices when it comes to how you want to color the chords. And especially with minor chords, there are some incredibly beautiful choices that are really not getting the attention that they deserve. So let's start easy and then go to the extremes with some minor chord options. The basic chord where it all begins is of course just a minor triad. You have root, minor third, and fifth. This is sometimes enough, just ask Jimmy Page. But it is only 3 notes, so you can add combinations of the remaining 9 notes and get a lot of different colors. The first and most common one is level 2, but minor chords can even work as substitutions for altered dominants, which is a great way to make some interesting chord progressions. I'm going to show you in a bit. On the Herbie Hancock scale of harmonic goodness, I'm going to give the minor triad a "this is great if you're in Guns N' Roses or another stadium rock band." The most common extension to add to a minor chord is probably the flat 7, which makes it a minor 7 chord. This is the typical first chord in a 2-5-1. But you actually have minor 7 chords in 3 different places in the major scale, on the 2, the 3, and the 6. And 2 variations of a minor 7 chord that you can very often throw in there would be the chord with a 9th or with an 11th. These are all nice, beautiful, calm sounds, but also sometimes a little bit boring. So this is a clear, you still need to check some things out, but don't use the real book on the Herbie Hancock scale of harmonic goodness.
Playing the same stuff over and over again.
Let's take this in a different and more colorful direction. I think this is probably what I would consider the most overlooked option. Instead of adding a flat 7 to the minor triad, you can also add a major 6, and then you get a minor 6 chord. And the minor 6 chord is a great sound that works especially well with tonic minor chords. For example, the G minor 6 in Autumn Leaves, which is also what is often played as a riff under the chord. When you're soloing, then the minor 6 chord is usually associated with melodic minor. The sound is often mixing this chord with the next type of minor chord, but a very common variation that you definitely want to have in your playing is the minor 6-9 chord. That sounds like this. You want to explore how to use this chord and test how it sounds in different places. It can be a great sound and also add some much needed variation to playing minor 7 chords everywhere. On the Herbie Hancock scale of harmonic goodness, this gets a "now we're talking." This chord is fantastic for endings, and you most likely already know it from the ending of this song, or a more recent song like this one.
There's just no time to die.
The basic chord type here is a minor major 7 chord. So that's a minor triad with a major 7th. This chord is dissonant and at rest at the same time. And it's a nice, more spicy color that you can add to a chord progression. The minor major 7 chord sounds great if you add a 9th to it, or even a 13th, which is essentially just playing a minor 6 and a minor major 7 at the same time. On the Herbie Hancock scale of harmonic goodness, this gets a Rick Beato approves.
And I play this chord, and it is 100% completely, entirely wrong.
This chord almost sounds like a mistake. Most of the time when you have a minor 7 chord, then it's put to use as a type of suspension of a dominant chord. So really just a more independent version of a sus4 chord. If you listen to a 2-5-1, then that would be this. And that's really just a bass note away from this. So if you look at how this chord works, then the point of it is to move one note, the 7th of the minor 7 chord, down to the 3rd of the dominant. Here it's G on A minor 7, moving down to an F sharp on D7. That means that the one note that you don't want on the minor 7 chord is probably the 13th, because that's the note that you're trying to save for the next chord. But if you listen to the minor 7 13th, then actually that's a great sound, and you can use that in itself, just like Herbie Hancock demonstrates quite often. Paired with an altered dominant, it sounds great in a 2-5-1 like this. Clearly, this should get a
There are no wrong notes
on the Herbie Hancock scale of harmonic goodness. But there are even minor chords that are so strange that they almost don't exist. If you watched any mediocre YouTube guitar lesson on improvisation, then you probably learned that Lydian is way better than major. While it is obviously complete nonsense, then that does make you wonder, but what is a Lydian minor 7 chord? Now, the pragmatic and boring people will tell you that that's just Dorian because of the major 6 interval, but the truly visionary out there will tell you about the legend of the minor 7 sharp 11 chord. This sound is mostly just a special effect that you can throw in there if you want to change things up in a minor blues or a song with a static minor chord for some times, but you can actually use it in a cadence like this. On the Herbie Hancock scale of harmonic goodness, this is an obvious
don't play the butter notes.
With all these options, then you can start to use the different minor chords as substitutions for other chords. A great example of this is to use a minor major 7 chord as an altered dominant. Here it's E flat minor major instead of a D7 altered. You can hear Jobim do this in the bridge of his song Dingy, and it's something that you can get a lot of beautiful harmony out of. You can also use a C minor major 7 instead of the D7. That will give you this. These need to be somewhere between You're Fired and Don't Steal My Gig on the Herbie Hancock scale of harmonic goodness. Let me know in the comments which one.
The butter notes?
Colorful chords are great and a big part of what is fun to explore about jazz harmony and playing jazz songs. But if you want to get started playing jazz, then it is as important that you dig into the type of chords that really have room for you to add extensions and colors to them. And this video will introduce you to shell voicings and also show you how they are fantastic for a lot of things, from walking bass and chords to bossa nova, and a great starting place for building some beautiful chords.